The case that changed everything. Picture this, a high-stakes interrogation room. A federal investigator and his partner are sitting across from a man suspected of murder. At first, both agents are fairly convinced they have the wrong guy, because the suspect is calm, composed, and answering every single question with remarkable ease. Then comes a pivotal moment. The partner leans forward and fires off a rapid list of possible murder weapons. Did you use a knife? A bat? A gun? An ice pick? An axe? A hammer? What did you use? While the partner is talking, the investigator isn't listening to the answers, he's watching. He's studying every micro-movement, every flicker of the suspect's face, every subtle shift in posture. And in that moment, something clicks. A single involuntary reaction tells the investigator something the suspect never meant to reveal. That one gesture changed the entire trajectory of the investigation. The agent started digging deeper, asking sharper questions, and eventually, the truth came out. The suspect was the killer all along. In a completely separate incident, the same investigator was working at his father's shop when a stranger walked in. Before anyone else noticed anything unusual, the agent's trained eye picked up on a cluster of behavioral signals that screamed danger. He alerted his father immediately, and what could have been a robbery was stopped before it even began. So how did he know? What exactly did he see? We'll reveal both answers, in full detail, at the end of this series. But first, you need to understand the foundation that makes all of this possible, the science of body language. Tie with us, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you read people forever. Coming up in part 2, why your body is always talking, even when your mouth is silent. Why the body never lies. Here's something most people never think about. You can carefully choose your words, rehearse your tone, and control the expression on your face. But you almost never think about what your legs are doing. Or your feet. Or the tiny muscle movements around your eyes. That's exactly why body language is so powerful, and why it's so hard to fake consistently. When you speak, you do so consciously. You think about what to say, how to phrase it, how to deliver it. But your nonverbal signals? Those are managed by a much older, more primal part of your brain, the limbic system. It reacts automatically, without asking your permission. This is why learning to read body language is the closest thing to reading minds. You begin to understand whether someone is genuinely at ease or quietly anxious. You start to sense when someone is being truthful versus when they're holding something back. You notice comfort and discomfort before a single word is spoken. And here's what makes this knowledge truly valuable. It doesn't just help you understand others. It helps you understand yourself, manage how you come across, build stronger connections, and even become more naturally magnetic and influential in your personal and professional life. Once you develop this skill, you'll never look at a conversation the same way again. There are 4 key areas of the body that reveal the most: the face, the hands, the torso, and, perhaps most surprisingly, the feet and legs. Or you might think the face is the most revealing part of the body. But in part 3, you'll discover why investigators actually start at the bottom, with your feet, and work their way up. Start at the bottom, what your feet and legs reveal. Most people focus on faces during a conversation, and that's actually a mistake. Faces are the most coached, most controlled part of our body. We've been trained since childhood to smile when we are supposed to look engaged even when we are bored, to maintain eye contact even when we'd rather look away. But feet and legs? Nobody coaches those. Nobody practices their foot posture before a meeting. That's why they often tell the truth when everything else is performing. One of the most charming signals to watch for is what's sometimes called happy feet, a slight bounce or lightness in someone's step when they're genuinely excited or content. But here's the critical rule: always read gestures in context. That same bouncy energy in someone heading into a job interview might mean nervous tension, not joy. Foot direction is another powerful clue. When we are genuinely interested in someone, our feet naturally point toward them. When we want to exit a conversation, our feet will often begin turning toward the nearest door, even if our upper body is still politely facing you. Next time you are in a conversation, glance down. The feet rarely lie. Watch for knee clasping too. When someone places both hands on their knees and leans slightly forward, that's a classic "I'm ready to leave" signal. Their body is literally preparing to stand up. Finally, a wide leg stance signals confidence and territorial ownership. It says, without words, "I belong here, and I'm in control." That you know what the lower body is saying, it's time to move upward. In part 4, we'll decode what your torso and hands are broadcasting to everyone around you, and the signals are louder than you think. The torso and hands, power, openness, and hidden signals. Think back to when you were a child and something frightened you. Your first instinct was to hide, behind a parent, a piece of furniture, anything solid. As adults, we don't literally hide anymore. But our bodies still try. When we feel threatened or emotionally exposed, we instinctively shield our torso. We cross our arms. We hold a bag in front of us. We clutch something to our chest. It's the adult version of hiding, subtle, unconscious, but unmistakable once you know what to look for. Just as meaningful is the direction your torso faces. When we are truly engaged with someone, our body turns toward them. When we are mentally checked out, our torso begins to angle away, even if we are still maintaining eye contact. Don't underestimate how you present yourself visually either. Wrinkled clothing or an unkempt appearance communicates before you ever open your mouth. It can signal stress, distraction, or a lack of self-awareness. Shoulders are equally revealing. A sudden shrug after a statement signals uncertainty. Shoulders pulled up toward the ears signals anxiety. Shoulders back and wide. That's confidence, or at least a strong effort to project it. Now, hands. When someone is excited, their hands naturally move upward. Restricted, minimal hand movement signals nervousness, or, as investigators have noted, someone trying not to be noticed. Hiding your hands makes others subconsciously distrust you. Open palms, by contrast, signal honesty. When you want someone to trust you, show your hands. We covered everything from the ground up. We dive into the most expressive part of all, the face, where microexpressions and a single smile can expose what someone is really thinking. The face doesn't always tell the truth, but it always tells a story. The face is the most complex communication system in the human body. It can express joy, contempt, surprise, and fear, sometimes all within a fraction of a second. And while we've learned to mask many expressions, some signals slip through before we even have time to catch them. The eyes are a great starting point. When we encounter something that surprises us or someone we genuinely like, our eyes widen instinctively. But if the surprise is unwelcome, those same eyes narrow almost immediately. Squinting tends to signal negativity, while wide, raised brows indicate openness or positive engagement. Eye blocking is another fascinating signal. When we don't want to process something emotionally difficult, we instinctively look away, look down, or briefly close our eyes. It's our brain trying to unsee what it doesn't want to deal with. Rapid blinking can indicate internal struggle, someone trying to process something confusing or emotionally charged. A sudden spike in blink rate often accompanies internal conflict. A head tilt combined with a slight eye roll signals skepticism, the nonverbal equivalent of "I'm not buying it." A sudden nostril flare often appears just before someone is about to take action, whether that's starting an argument or bracing for something physical. And then there's the smile. A genuine smile isn't just about the mouth, it involves the muscles around the eyes, creating small natural creases. A polite or rehearsed smile stays closer to the lower face and lacks that eye involvement. Once you know the difference, you'll spot it everywhere. That you have the full toolkit you've been waiting for. We finally reveal exactly how the investigator caught the killer, and what gave the robber away before he could act. The reveals, putting it all together. Remember those two stories from the very beginning? Let's revisit them, because every detail will now make perfect sense. During the interrogation, when the partner rattled off the list of weapons, knife, bat, gun, ice pick, axe, hammer, the suspect barely reacted to most of them. Calm, steady, composed. But the moment the words ice pick left the partner's mouth, something shifted. The suspect's gaze dropped, involuntarily, instantly, and came back up just as quickly when the next weapon was named. That downward glance is a classic eye-blocking signal. The brain trying to distance itself from something it recognizes as significant. And because only the investigators and the actual killer knew which weapon was used, that fleeting response was as close to a confession as a glance can get. It sharpened the entire line of questioning. The second story, The Would-Be Robber at the Shop, is a masterclass in baseline reading. The man's movements were unusually restricted, minimal arm movement, quiet steps, hands kept out of sight. His body was doing everything it could to stay undetected. And then came the final signal, a sudden nostril flare, the body's instinctive preparation for physical action. The investigator recognized it and acted immediately. These aren't just fascinating stories. They're proof of what becomes possible when you train your eye to observe rather than just see. One final reminder, never read a single gesture in isolation. Look for clusters of signals. Consider the context. Establish what's normal for that person, their baseline, before deciding what's unusual. The truth lives in the deviations. Thanks for watching, and remember, the body is always talking. The only question is whether you are listening. If this series helped you see the world differently, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss what's coming next.